Hello and welcome to the Windows 10 vs. Chrome broadcast. Today we're going to be talking about partner profitability scenarios and how to compete in this dynamically changing marketplace. My name is Sherman Crancer and I'm the Senior Partner Channel Development Manager here in the Western US, and you can contact me here at scrancer@microsoft.com if you ever need anything. I'd like to introduce our special guest today. His name is Albert Springall. Albert, would you introduce yourself and tell us what you do for Microsoft?
Hi Sherman, thanks for having me. My name is Albert Springall. I'm with the US OEM Group, and I'm the Partner Sales Executive working with the distribution team. I'm responsible for selling devices into distribution.
Great, Albert, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. So, what is the agenda for today? Today, we're going to talk about, Windows 10 versus Chrome. We're going to talk about why there's a compete scenario going on. Albert's going to come in and talk about, frequently asked questions. We'll get into Windows 10 versus Chrome. We'll talk a little about some thought leadership behind packaging, and then we'll put it all together with a summary and a call to action. So, Albert, why don't we start out with you and kind of talking about, what we're going to be learning today?
Today we're going to learn a little bit about the industry trends, what we're seeing. Even though today we have a 94% market, there's still a lot of pressure on the horizon. Chrome is coming in a big way in education and SMB, and we're going to address how to sell Windows 10 versus Chrome, how partners can leverage Windows 10 to increase margin, and then as well how we can pay more for Windows 10 Pro device than for a Chromebook, but why should we? And what are the best ways to use these Windows 10 Chromebook compete devices, and how secure is a Microsoft Windows 10 device?
Awesome. I think a lot of partners out there are asking a lot of questions, behind this. And, they have, they're like, well, Chrome, they're really picking up the education market. They're really, just dominating that. And, I think there's some pressure, from small business now starting to take it. They're thinking, oh, well, we don't have to buy, these large devices, but I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. So, some of the frequently asked questions are as follows. We have some partners, and I'm kind of skeptical about some of this stuff. So, one, and I'd like, Albert, if you could help me out and understand this, what are the best ways to use these Windows 10 Chromebook compete devices?
Yeah, the great thing about the new compete devices that we have is from a price perspective, they're very, very attractive. The price gap is no longer what it used to be from a premium Pro device to now we have a lot of choices for our partners and our customers on some devices that have a lot more, do a lot more, but are very, very budget sensitive.
Interesting. Well, the next question that kind of comes up, and I've heard this many different times, will we need to update our Windows 10 Pro devices manually with new security patches and features? I think there's a lot of consternation out there. Oh, well, I don't want to have a Windows 10 device when they tell me, oh, Chrome devices are the way to go. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Windows Pro devices are always up to speed when it comes to security, patches. They're the most secure devices, and they're constantly being updated. So there's no manual patching. You don't have to go and install anything new. They're done automatically, and they're done on demand.
Wow, that's really interesting. I think another thing, I was talking to a good friend of mine who runs a company, and he was talking about, oh my gosh, I'm going to need to spend so much money with IT professionals running and managing it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the greatest thing about a Windows 10 Pro device is that you have the manageability. Whether you want them to be managed very closely, if you want to manage the data inside the device, or you want to manage the entire device, you can either use an IT professional, which is always recommended for especially some of the higher level features, but you can also have your on-staff support be able to manage them, as they're very, very simple to use and incredibly user-friendly from an IT manageability standpoint.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, how about security? I mean, security is the biggest thing today. Where everyone's talking about it. How does this work? In a scenario where they're like, well, we don't need to be that secure. We just get on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And today's security is probably one of the hottest subjects. Everything from protecting from hackers to nation states. It's one of those things that's top of mind for all IT security experts as well as just regular IT and end users. Windows 10 Pro devices are the most secure devices, and it's the most secure operating system that's ever been launched by Microsoft.
Interesting. I know that there's a lot of technology advances, which is really fantastic. And it kind of dovetails really into the next one. I know this is more of kind of an office question, but how much free cloud storage do we get with a Windows 10 Pro device?
Well, with Windows 10 Pro devices, you get 5 gigabytes of free storage. That's enough to have about 6,600 documents. Additionally, like you mentioned with Office 365, when you purchase a license of Office 365, you get 1 terabyte of free cloud storage, which is about enough to host about 1 million documents.
Wow. I heard the stat that the average small to medium-sized business organization has 3 paid cloud storage accounts. And I always think that it's just like, wow, that's a lot considering you can get it for free these days, right? The next one really is, and I know I've heard this a lot, and they say, well, can I use other browsers? Am I stuck with Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge? And I'd like your thoughts on that question.
You can absolutely use them. You can use everything from Internet Explorer, Edge that comes standard Windows 10, and as a matter of fact, Chrome, for the folks that like to use Chrome, Chrome works better on a Windows 10 device than it works on any other device.
That's very interesting that you brought that up. And then, following that up, can we keep using our Windows 7 and 8 apps if we move to Windows 10 Pro devices? And we ask this question because I know a lot of people are like, I don't like change. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, that's a great question. There's a lot of legacy apps and applications out there, and the rule of thumb is that if it works on Windows 7 and 8, it's going to move and work with Windows 10. There might be a handful of applications that might not, that might need some minor modifications, but for the most part, the majority of apps and applications that are commercially available today will work on Windows 10 Pro devices.
Wow. And I thought that was the case, and I think it comes to this very next one that we recently received, and is why should I pay more for a Windows 10 Pro device than a Chromebook? And I personally could answer this question, but I'm not going to. Albert, please help us understand it.
Yes, absolutely. Very great question. And part of the discussion on cost, it's not just about cost, it's about value. And if you look at cost, it's more than just the device itself. There's questions about networking, there's questions about storage. It's a very large conversation that is much greater than the device. If you look at it from a value standpoint, Chrome can do some. The Windows 10 Pro devices does everything. So the cost per value and what you can actually do with a Windows 10 machine versus a Chromebook, it's basically night and day. For only a few dollars more, you're going to get a ton more.
Yeah, like literally a few dollars more. And then on the other thing, just to clear this up, with a Chromebook, you have to be connected to the internet pretty much all the time to utilize your applications. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. Chromebooks are 100% dependent on having internet access. With Windows 10 Pro devices, you have a hard drive, you have offline applications like Office 365 where you can actually use the device even if you're not connected to the internet. And having that dependability on being connected to the internet makes it a very difficult proposition if you're traveling, if you've been on a plane, if you're out in the field somewhere and you don't have access to the internet, your device is basically not going to do much. With a Windows 10 Pro device, you can always save documents, you can edit documents, you can collaborate, you can do a number of things even if the application is not connected to the internet.
Yeah, I fly all the time. I can't imagine having a device that I couldn't connect unless I paid for the in-flight Wi-Fi. Oh my gosh! All right, hey, so thank you so much, Albert, on that. We really appreciate it because that really kind of helps set up the reason we're getting into this, and the reason why we're talking about competing against these the Chromebook and the pressure. So we always kind of go into this thought leadership type of scenario where we help partners understand why they should move from, let's say, not competing against Chromebooks to competing with it, but also how do we help them understand, profit margins? And the first thing we want to talk about today is really packaging for profit. Now, a lot of partners are looking at, project-based services, or they're looking at managed services, but they're not really looking at creating their own IP or creating their own package. And what that does is it limits their ability to create high margin type of scenarios. So why packaging? And that's the reason, that's the main reason. It's really high margin scenarios. Instead of doing project services that's based on a once a project, certain dollars per hour, we're trying to create something that has a recurring revenue stream. And what you're looking for is high margin and low OpEx, meaning that what you want to do is reduce the number of hours that your staff is actually spending on, maybe resetting, printer drivers, or, helping customers out, with this, low impact type of scenarios. But you really want to be able to create this so that you can create a repeatable type of product or service that you can do not just locally, regionally, as well as nationally. So how we set it up, or one of the suggestions that we make, is to create 3 packages per vertical market that you're in. And if you don't have a vertical market or you're not actively looking at it, you can very simply just go back to your current client base, go ahead and list all of them, and basically find out which one of the clients that you have the most of, and now you have something, so create something for that. You want to move away from I am everything to everybody, and this is the part of thought leadership that I think is so important. As a partner who provides all IT services to everyone, you end up becoming a jack of all trades and not necessarily a master of any one of them. But by creating packages, you have 3 or 4 things. You include a Windows 10 device, you include Office 365, you include managed services. You can create something and be an expert at that. Lastly, we're going to leave you with this. Dreamers talk about what they're going to do, but leaders do what they talk about. We want you to take this and get up and just do it. All right, Albert, help us understand the partner profitability scenario in combination with just the package thing that we just talked about.
Absolutely, Sherman, and that's a great point. In order to be able to sell a Windows 10 Pro device and really see the value of the device, there's a number of things that are important from a cross-sell, upsell opportunity. As a partner, you can retire quota, you can make more money, and really increase your profits and your value to the customer because you have a lot more opportunities. On average, a Windows 10 Pro device has $600 of incremental service dollars after the sale of the product. That's $600 that you're leaving on the table if you sell a Chromebook. The project services, for example, you increase your potential margin 35%. Managed services, 45%, and potential margin of 65%. These are all dollars that keep adding for every single device. We have opportunities with upselling Office 365, Dynamics 365 for CRM, Microsoft Intune to be able to manage capabilities, and this doesn't even include applications outside of the Microsoft realm. So everything from QuickBooks, everything from Photoshop, any application that requires a processor, storage, that is not a cloud application, you can make margin on not just the actual sell of the product, but also the integration and the application management.
Oh, that's fantastic. And this is a great illustration here, Albert, with the project services, managed services, and packaged IP, right? And it's really the packaged IP is something that they're creating, but they're combining all of this together. And that's great. So let's move on to steps to compete against Chrome. Albert, can you kind of help us understand maybe the 5 steps to do that?
Absolutely. There's 5 steps that we recommend competing against Chrome. The first one is to start the conversation. Find out a little bit more about what they're looking at Chrome. The second one is to articulate the advantages of Windows 10 Pro devices. Recommend based on the questions that you asked. Upsell the value of applications and apps, and then give all the resources in order for the customer to be able to make an educated decision.
I think that's a fantastic way of explaining that. I think step 1 is really about beginning the conversation by exploring customer needs. But really what that means is about, coming up with open-ended type of questions to really find out what's going on within an organization, and then taking that information and using it to come up with a proposal that is compelling and will help you understand that. So I think the first thing is about conversation starters. Albert, can you help us, maybe give us some examples of conversation starters?
Absolutely. The first thing is, as a sales guy, I try to listen 80% and pitch 20%. The more questions that you ask your customer, the more you start understanding. So for example, some of the conversation starters are, why are you considering a new device? Trying to understand how they're going to use that device, if they have remote access, if they are using applications that they want to use on multiple devices. Are they worried about security, up to date and always on? Do they want to make sure the device is updated? And have they considered the full cost of the device? Like we talked about briefly, it's not just about the device, but it's about the infrastructure. It's about the broadband. It's about the Wi-Fi. It's about the access points. It's all those costs that are typically not considered when you're looking at a device. If you're just looking at the cost of the device, that's not the only cost that's affecting the IT budget. The infrastructure, the manageability, all of the things, the security, all of those are factors that need to be understood. And the only way to understand them is to ask those questions from your customer. There's a number of things that Chrome simply cannot do. And the first one is that it cannot run full Office apps. So if you want to use PowerPoint on the plane to create that last second presentation, you can't do that offline. It doesn't work with USB printers. It doesn't have USB encryption or digital rights management. So that's a huge security issue. If you're an attorney and you want to have digital rights management, you don't have those capabilities. And you have a choice in device management solutions as well to give you control of file storage, system updates, and you also have a number of devices that you can go. So if you start off with an entry-level device because you think some of the people at your company only need the basic that a Chromebook can provide, if those needs all of a sudden become a lot more, and you need extra processing power, extra storage, you need access to peripherals, the upgrade from a Chromebook to a Windows 10 Pro device is going to be very, very cumbersome. Whereas if you stay in the Windows 10 Pro device, it's very easy to upgrade to a new device that has a lot more features, everything from inking, touch, and Windows Hello for biometric access. So why should you pay more money for a Windows 10 Pro device? And the very simple answer to that is a Windows 10 Pro device gives you so much more. It's about the cost and value discussion. It enables all kinds of applications offline and online, safeguards your data. In the long term, a Windows Pro device is not only not more expensive, it's actually a lot cheaper to have a Windows 10 Pro device because of the security and the value of the device and the entire ecosystem, not just the Microsoft ecosystem, but the entire ecosystem of applications and apps.
So let's go back to the what Chrome can't do here, and I want to ask a couple of questions. Partners are probably thinking about, oh, well, some of these real super small businesses, I'm just not going to even, margins aren't big enough. I can't make enough money. I'm just going to go ahead and let them just buy a Chromebook. But if you look at what they can do, I would say that most of those things are almost absolutely necessary to do any type of business. I thought Chromebooks, and this is the question, I know it's kind of long-winded here, but I was understanding that Chromebooks were just basically not for business, but they were for I think they were in education because it was just very limited amount of power and need they had. What are your thoughts, Albert, on that statement?
Absolutely, and if you look at some of the things that are capable with a Windows 10 Pro device, from an increased productivity to increased security, those are things that are must-haves in today's business world. If you're an SMB and you want to do the bare minimum, and you think that's the right way to go, your business is always evolving. SMBs are very dynamic organizations that grow very quickly and their needs change. If you lock your entire company to one device because you only think, oh, I only need a couple of websites and software service as the basics of my business, it's going to change a lot. If you at some point hire a CFO and the CFO needs to use advanced Excel worksheets, for example, and macros, you're not going to be able to have that capability with Chromebook. So why not give your chance to your business the best chance possible to be able to grow into being a full-fledged enterprise, which is what all SMBs want to do. Even if you're really small, you want to grow your very dynamic organization and you want to get to the next level. Windows 10 Pro devices will allow your users to be able to get to that next level.
Yeah, and on top of that, that's going to help with the profitability scenarios we're talking about, right? So the partners can help their customers, A, move away from something that's really not going to work, but also they can drive marginable type of revenue by promoting the Windows 10 over the Chrome. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
And the price discussion, it's not just about the price of the device, but it's the entire conversation.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on to number 2. So let's talk about revealing the advantages, of a Windows 10 Pro device. And I think, the goal is to get the customer to basically choose Windows over the competition. So if you're a partner, these are the things you're thinking about. Albert, can you cover the reasons to buy a Windows 10 device?
Absolutely. And the best way to get the customer to choose Windows over the competition is to actually show the device. Work with your customers to be able to understand why they are more productive, why you can run the things that you need to run your business. Everything from DocuSign, if you're signing any kind of legal agreements, QuickBooks Online, as well as QuickBooks Offline, running the full application. Office documents, meaning you don't have to compromise and just work offline. Making sure that you also have the discussion about security and future threats. Your device with Windows Hello is going to be protected. It's one of the most amazing security features that is tied to the device. So if you want to be able to have access to your device, be able to use biometrics, everything from a fingerprint scanner to a retina scanner to a facial recognition, all amazing ways to make sure that your device is secure and the data in it is secured with advanced features like BitLocker. And then finally, making sure that it integrates into your existing IT. Whether it's on premise or in the cloud, it gives you and your business the choice to be able to work with your existing environment. And as partners, once you have the opportunity to integrate to what they have already, there's a lot less rip and replace. They can leverage the things that work today that they like, and they can add on if they want to move on to the cloud and use software as a service or infrastructure as a service. You have all those capabilities with Windows 10 Pro devices.
What's funny is yesterday my neighbor actually asked me, I'm thinking about buying, I kid you not, I think about buying a Chrome device. Can you tell me what your Surface Pro 4 does? And I'm like, yeah, just give me a second. And I pulled it out, brought it outside, and I showed the Windows Hello. And right there, I didn't have to do anything else because she's like, well, that's how you sign in? I said, yeah, that's how I sign in. That's it. It looks at me. And just blown away. And she's like, yeah, forget the Chrome. I'm going to get one of these Surface 4s. I'm like, yes. So, all right. Didn't mean to interrupt there. Why don't you talk us through some of the questions that we had kind of brought up earlier about the IT professionals setting things up?
Absolutely. Being able to set up a Windows 10 Pro device is the easiest thing in the world. My kid can set it up. Granted, my kid is very computer savvy, but they're very easy to set up and manage. It's a very easy interface. It's very easy to be able to adjust and be able to get a new device. Are you going to need an update on Windows 10 Pro devices manually with security patches and features? Absolutely not. All that is done without you having to have any kind of interaction. There is an option for enterprise customers, for example, if they want to schedule those and do those whenever they want to during downtime or specific windows. There's that option. If you are not and you're just a standard SMB or an end user that does not want to touch the device, the updates and patches are done absolutely automatically, and they're done when you're not even paying attention to it. And then how secure is a Windows 10 Pro device? It is the most secure operating system out there. With Windows Hello, BitLocker, TPM, and some of the technology that our OEMs have embedded in the devices, they are by far the most secure devices out there.
All right. Well, let's move into step number 3, and that's really about recommending the best matches between customer needs and the featured Windows 10 devices. And what I like to do is to bring up a guest, Steve from Acer, and we're going to be talking about the actual devices and how they will help customers move away from Chrome and back into just Windows 10.
Steve, thanks so much for joining us. When you're out there talking to end users and partners, how do you position Windows 10 Pro devices?
Well, as we discussed earlier, Albert, you want to ask a lot of questions to find out how your customers are using the devices, what their requirements are, what kind of security concerns they might have, and what their end vision is of where they want their organization to be.
Because obviously Acer has a lot of products, right? You have everything from cloud books to servers, a little bit of everything. So when you're asking those questions, you have the capability to stay in your product line, whether it's an entry-level product. So what kind of questions are you asking to gauge what kind of product you're going to sell them?
Well, to your point, your customer may start somewhere and evolve over time. So by starting with maybe a less horsepowered entry-level device, and as they progress, needing additional security, maybe a more ruggedized device, we can stay in the Windows 10 family to help them get where they want to be.
That's great that you have that kind of flexibility across the entire ecosystem, whether it's a CEO or it's an entry-level person that only needs access to the internet, they can stay with the Acer product line. What's your favorite Acer product?
You know, I gotta say, I love the new Switch Alpha.
What do you like about it?
It's a tablet. It's not a companion device. It's a replacement strategy that gives you a tablet with a full functioning notebook functionality.
Oh, that's great. So it's portable, but also has a lot of power.
Absolutely.
That's great. So if you're a road warrior or you're just using it for different things, you can use it for a number of different tasks and scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What's your personal device that you use today?
You can't ask me that because I'm still using the traditional notebook, but hopefully in the next month or so they're going to let me evolve up to the Switch Alpha.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Steve, thanks so much for joining us, and I appreciate your partnership.
Thank you. I appreciate having me.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that explanation for that. So let's get into step 4 for partners. And now it's time to discuss the value of Microsoft apps and services on a Windows 10 Pro device. And really the goal here is to now cross-sell, upsell. Albert, can you help us understand step 4 a little bit better?
Absolutely, and this is the cherry on the top. We've talked about the device. Now it's your opportunity to really talk more about the entire ecosystem, the applications, how you can really get the most out of your Windows 10 Pro device. Being able to upsell Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure Active Directory Premium on top of the device purchase is the best way to be able to monetize, increase profit, and make yourself sticky to the customer. As a partner, when you start creating all these opportunities and all these ways that the customer can be more productive, more secure, and be able to take full advantage of their Windows 10 investment, this is your opportunity to really shine and show your thought leadership and how you can really add value to the customer from a productivity, security, and satisfaction standpoint.
All right, so why don't we run through a couple of the scenarios?
Absolutely. So let's talk about simplifying management of apps and devices. With Microsoft Intune, you have the capabilities of being able to manage your mobile devices, being able to manage the data, being able to manage your device and the security of that device, and then being able to work anywhere. So you have the flexibility to leverage OneDrive for Business, being able to get the 1 terabyte when you buy Office 365, of being able to access all your files and documents anywhere where you are. That's kept on the cloud, so you don't have to worry about backing up or losing any of the information, and be able to have that extra flexibility to collaborate with your coworkers on different documents. And talking about collaboration, there's no better way to do it than with Office 365 or Skype for Business, where you can collaborate on your documents real time, be able to have conversations, be able to see presence, IM discussions, or even having full telephony capabilities with Skype for Business. This is a great way to be able to talk about collaboration and how you can maximize that Windows 10 Pro device. You didn't just make an investment to use one thing, but now you're making an investment that is going to really maximize and stretch your dollar.
You know, the beautiful thing about that is you don't always have to be online. you don't have to do it. I think that's fantastic. All right, so let's go to the next three different scenarios that I think partners could utilize.
Absolutely, and the goal is to capture new business and earn customer loyalty. When you have Dynamics 365 and you're using that as your CRM, you have a lot of capabilities. LinkedIn is now one of the hottest things that we've had that we're incorporating into Dynamics 365, and that's going to be a great asset to be able to leverage the data. You're now becoming, as a partner, a huge consultant, not just on the IT side, but also on the customer. And what customer does not want to know about how to make more money and be able to capture more customers? The other thing is about being able to run your operations faster with line of business applications. So today, most SMBs are going to use DocuSign or Citrix Receiver, QuickBooks Online, or the full QuickBooks, right? Most SMBs are using all these apps and all these packages to be able to run their business efficiently. If you have the line of business applications at your fingertips with your Windows Pro device, you're really maximizing your investment. And then how about keeping it simple? How about having Azure Active Directory, so you have single sign-on, you manage the security of your users, you're basically being able to have a very, very low impact on security with having a ton of features using Azure Active Directory. And then you have the Windows Store and Azure Apps. So if we talk about Windows Store, your Windows 10 Pro device is a PC, and the P in PC is personal. When you have your personal computer and you're doing business, you also want to be able to download movies, or you want to be able to play games. And the Windows Store has capabilities to be able to download music, be able to download videos, Xbox games, all those things that make your personal computing experience more personal.
So you're saying you can save files onto your device?
In a nutshell, yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's move into a couple questions that I think the partners are going to basically ask or utilize when they're talking to customers. Can you help us or run us through those?
Yeah, so one of the big questions, we've been using Windows 7, we love it, we have applications that run on it. Will those applications run on Windows 10? And the answer is absolutely. Commercial applications on Windows 7 or Windows 8 will run on Windows 10. There are definitely some very custom applications, which are very, very rare, that might require some rewriting, but all commercially run applications on Windows 7, Windows 8 will run on Windows 10.
All right, fantastic. All right, so there's a step 5, and it's really about resources, and I think there's a lot of different opportunities to find resources from your local distributor that you're working with, your partner channel development manager, ready to go marketing, the U.S. partner website. There's a lot of great things in there. So let's summarize this. Let's summarize Windows 10 versus Chrome. Let's do that. So the first thing that we have to understand is Windows 10 and accompanying devices are powerful tools to build margin and create brand loyalty. What I mean by that is it creates loyalty to you, that you're not steering your customers also to devices or issues that are related to that. Next, Chrome can't compete against Windows 10 Pro. There's just no way it can't. There's just too many things, especially for a business. If they are not a business and they're a single use, maybe a student at an education thing, we're not going to, we still think that the Windows devices are better, but you can't do it in business and utilize this, and it just cannot compete against Windows 10. Next, for a partner, you want to make sure that you start, you articulate, you recommend, then you cross-sell and upsell. That's the summary of this whole webinar today. This broadcast is, okay, how do we compete? And utilizing some of the techniques that we went over today is really going to help you do that. Remember, creating IP, so creating packages. We're not saying create a software that you're going to write by yourself. We're talking about just create a package that includes a Windows 10 device that will help you create high margin opportunities. Remember that. Remember, high margin opportunities. Think about what you're doing strategically. Try to move your business that way. Next, use open-ended discovery questions to find out the key indicators that will, bolster your proposal. Super important, and we talked about that really in step 1, which is the discovery questions. Very, very important, and you utilize those, and I think you'll be really happy that you did. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sherman Crancer, and I'm the Senior Partner Channel Development Manager for the Western U.S. My contact information is here if you want to reach out to me. I'm going to hand it back over to Albert. Please, Albert, what are your last thoughts on this program?
Great, Sherman, thank you very much for having me. My last thoughts is go out there, talk to your customers, ask those questions, create that thought leadership, and good luck selling Windows 10 Pro devices. I'm pretty sure that you're going to win many, many, many battles, and we are here to support you in any way. My contact information is there. If you have any questions about your distributors or you need additional resources, feel free to contact me at my information.
Great. Thanks again, Albert. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day.